Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Finally, I get to do the Leicester preview. What a busy last 12 hours it's been about a bid. I don't know whether you heard about that, but there has been a bid. But before we get into all this, and we will be talking about Leicester, and I'll tell you what, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win, and I'm going to explain why I think we're going to win in a moment, because I just don't think, I think Leicester have won 2 games in their last 2 games, funnily enough. 8 goals, really, really good. We played on Thursday night. I think some people think we're a bit vulnerable. I don't, but I'll get into that in a minute, because the first thing we're going to talk about is Manscaped. We're sponsored by Manscaped on the show. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. If you don't know by now, you must know what this is all about. It's the weekend, and what better time to use the Lawnmower 4.0 to trim the grass down there. That's what it's all about, Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. It is, and I always turn it on when I put it down there. It's almost like it knows. Lawnmower 4.0, adjustable lengths on it, electromagnetic induction charging. You just drop it in and it charges up. A light for a more precise shave. It's waterproof as well, although my advice is shave it all off before you're in the shower and then rinse it off. I think if you tried to do it and you'd let it go for a bit and it's wet, it's just going to be like trying to cut the grass when it's, you know, really long and wet. So yeah, that works quite well actually. But you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping by scanning the QR code next to me. Links in the video description as well. Also, you can get the performance package where you get the weed whacker, which is brilliant for the nose if you're of a certain age. You get performance boxer shorts, deodorants, travel bag, the lot. Fantastic products with Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Really will make a big difference. And as I said, 20% off with the code United Stand, or it will take it off automatically if you scan that QR code anyway. Links in the video description as well. Big shout out to Manscaped for that. Appreciate it. Right, let's get on with the preview, which is obviously going to be against Leicester. We're playing at 2 o'clock tomorrow night. There's just so much going on with Manchester United at the moment, isn't there? I think that's the thing. And Leicester have played really well recently. I was surprised by Leicester, actually. I looked at their away record. And considering Leicester are a real yo-yo club, they started the season badly. Then they had a good few games before the World Cup. Then they came back from the World Cup and they were bad again. And then they're having a good run again. They've just won at Villa away from home. I think they won 4-2. Last week they beat Spurs from 1-0 down 4-1. And they could have had 5 or 6. So they've had 2 really good results for themselves, and I think people feel that there's a bit of a momentum for Leicester coming to Old Trafford, and with a week off and an energetic performance, I suppose it makes us a little bit vulnerable. I don't think we're going to struggle though. I really, really don't, because, you know, one of the things I think that you need to look at when you're analysing this is that Leicester are not a possession-based side. Against Villa, I think they had like 35% possession and they won 4-2. Even at home to Tottenham, they had less than 50% possession. They're not a possession-based side. They're not going to come to Man United and dominate possession. And therefore, I think that gives us the win, because I would imagine we'll have about easily 60% possession, maybe more. And I think when you look at the players there, and I'm trying very hard to predict what Ten Hag will pick with this team here, and I'll go through it now, but I think if you pick that team, we're going to have a lot of possession, and with a lot of possession, I think we'll always score goals. So I think we'll win this game. We've got to win this game as well. I know Barcelona on Thursday night just gone was momentous and emotion and pure passion, and it's what football is all about. And then next Thursday will be like that at Old Trafford, and then we've got the Carabao Cup final. But it'd be so good and essential and important to get 3 points on the board against Leicester, and then put the Premier League to bed for a couple of weeks, because we don't play in it for a couple of weeks. In fact, I think our next game is Anfield. So be very important just to get these 3 points on the board, because if we did lose to Leicester and then, you know, God forbid we get beat at Anfield, that's 6 points dropped. And the way the Premier League's going to go, because everyone's playing next week when we're in the Carabao Cup, we could end up still in the top 4 but with the game in hand and people right up on our arse. So it's important to get these 3 points just to not open the door for people to get back at us a bit, and I expect us to do that. How we'll line up, obviously De Gea has to go in goal. This is not the Carabao Cup. This is it's not a bloody reserves game. I don't want to see lots of change. So De Gea will be in goal. I suspect he'll bring Dalot back in because it's logical. I think Wan-Bissaka's performance in the new camp was good and bad. I think that's how most people would describe it. He did good bits and then there was bad bits. So I think Dalot playing in this game and giving Wan-Bissaka a rest is probably a good idea anyway, rotationally. I think Malacia will be given a rest and Luke Shaw will just swap over to left back. Martinez will obviously come back in because he was suspended and we'll need him back for Thursday night. And I think Varane will obviously be given the game off, and then it's a choice between whether you go with Lindelof and Maguire. Personally, I would prefer to go with Lindelof, a bit more mobility, but I think he will go with Maguire. So I think Maguire will come in for this game. Into the midfield, I don't see any reason why Casemiro wouldn't play, other than the fact that he can't play, and I've made a right mistake there. He's suspended, you bloody idiot. Even I'd forgotten about that. Goldbridge, or did I? Yes, I did. I put Casemiro in. Idiot. I bet you've all been shouting at the screen. Sooner, I never even thought. I never even thought about that. What an absolute prat. Casemiro cannot play. So how we construct this team is, I suspect Fred will come in and we will play with a sort of a midfield too. So ignore that Casemiro mistake, which was, I think I've seen a few people make that mistake, but he's still suspended. So Casemiro will not play. So I think you've got to go with Fred, and you've got to go with Sabitzer, who hasn't played. So Fred, Sabitzer, and Bruno sort of pick themselves. Does that change my opinion on this game, you know? Dewsbury Hall and Mendy, or maybe Dewsbury Hall and Tillemans with Maddison. I mean, yeah, look, it gives Leicester more of a chance not having Casemiro. I'm surprised that slipped through my net, actually. Obviously, he misses 3 games, bloody refs. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any other option. I think you've got to go Fred and Sabitzer, haven't you? I think it we won't be as strong, but I still think we'll be okay. You've got to play Bruno at 10 in a game like this. If you haven't got Casemiro, you need that in the midfield. And then the front three is quite interesting. I think you've got to start Garnacho in a game like this. I think Rashford has to start because, maybe take him off with half an hour to go, 20 minutes if you're lucky, but I think Rashford has to start, and therefore I think Weghorst will play as well. We're not expecting Anthony back. We're not expecting McTominay. We're not expecting Martial. So I think you go with what you've got. The only obvious absentee there is Jadon Sancho, who may well start the game, but I don't know whether anyone else has noticed this, because I certainly have. I feel that Sancho against Barcelona and Leeds actually was average at best. I didn't feel like, when he had that cameo where he came on as a number 10 a couple of weeks ago and played really well, I don't feel like he's kicked on from that. And I don't have a problem with that. Patience is really important. I mean, he's been out for 3 months, and I think people thought he was going to come back and play like prime Sancho. Ten Hag has hinted at this. There will be patience and it will take time. And I think we've seen glimpses from Sancho, but I think not playing for 3 months has started to show in the last couple of weeks, where these lads are playing every 3.5 days. Sancho's clearly not quite up to speed yet. So I think that Ten Hag might just take him out of this game and just put him on the bench and bring him on for half an hour. He may well start him, but I'm trying to predict what he will do. And I did sense that that Sancho is getting substituted off quite early in the last couple of games, and hasn't contributed as much as I think he probably would have wanted to. So I just wonder whether Ten Hag will just give Garnacho a start in a game like this to freshen things up, especially with such a big game on Thursday night. So yeah, look, I think looking at that team and that's predicted team, would I make any changes? Would you make any changes? I'd play Lindelof instead of Maguire. I would give Varane a rest. I think that's important. I'd play Lindelof instead of Maguire. I can't really construct a better midfield than that. And I would probably stick Rashford down the middle and put Sancho on the right and give Weghorst the rest, who, again, doesn't look like he's playing particularly well at the moment, but, he does put a lot of work in. He might play Weghorst as a number 10 again and put Bruno off the right. So that could happen, but, even I'm getting tired of all these previews. God, it's every 3.5 days. How do I do it? But I think we'll win. I think 2-0 resonates as a scoreline. Leicester have played really, really well at the moment. One thing about Leicester is that they're very clinical. If you look at obviously 8 goals in 2 games, it's Slow Sports News. Goldbridge says Leicester are clinical, but they are very, very clinical. Even last week, Harvey Barnes had a goal ruled offside. It's just so clinical that they're taking their chances really well. They're in a good vein of form, Leicester. I'd hate a draw tomorrow. I hate bloody draws. I mean, I don't want to get beat, but I just don't. A draw just, we've got to win this game, and hopefully players like Dalot and the Maguires, if they do come in, and the Garnachos, and Martinez and Sabitzer, I mean, we can freshen that team up, naturally freshen that team up. Sabitzer and Martinez haven't played in the week because of suspension, so they'll be fresh and ready to go. Obviously, if we rest Varane, that's another player. Dalot, that's another player. Garnacho. So 5 players coming in, I know we're playing a lot of games, but that's an opportunity to freshen up. And I think you've got to take this opportunity to freshen up, because this won't be possible next Sunday. When we play Barcelona at Old Trafford on Thursday night, we're going to have to go strong. You're going to have to play Casemiro, who will be back, Varane. You're going to have to go as strong as you can on that Thursday night, and it will be epic. And we're going to have to put a lot into that. And then literally Thursday night to Sunday afternoon, you play the Carabao Cup final, which is arguably our biggest game in 5 years because it's a trophy. You can't just roll out Maguire and everybody else for that game. He might do, but you've got to go strong in that as well. So I think that is why against Leicester, you've got to give people like Varane a break and, give a few people a break, because it's not going to happen, is it, after that? I think the next opportunity to make changes would be after the Carabao Cup, when we play, I think, West Ham in the FA Cup, so on midweek. So there's lots going on. I think Manchester United will win this 2-0. I think that, Leicester are decent, but we're Manchester United at home. And as much as Leicester are dangerous, I think they'll be dangerous on the break. And they've got a really good front four at the moment. Maddison's back on form. Harvey Barnes, who, on his day is very good. That Tete off the right-hand side, and Iheanacho. They're mobile. I'm not saying you'd want to buy any of those players, but they are mobile. And, if we do play Maguire and there is the chance to counter, they probably will create chances. But we've got to use the possession intelligently. I don't see us winning 3 or 4-0. I don't really see us losing. I think it's about game managing, and we've seen us do that in January a lot. I remember us beating Forest. Was that the 27th? I don't think we played brilliantly in the game, but we ended up comfortable, and I think that's what we're going to have to do here against Leicester. I think as a fan base, we've got our part to play as well. Fatigue is probably starting to kick in with some fans as well, and I think that tomorrow will be a very difficult game, and it's our responsibility as much as it's the players to be focused, because you look at that league table, as we've seen before. What are we, 5 points off the top? We've played the same games as Man City. By tomorrow, I expect we'll be 8 points off the top, because I think Man City will have won. So, just stay in the race. Stay in the race. Every time we get sort of in a title race, we always have a bad result. We've seen that twice now. Let's not have a bad result. Let's go and get a good result, and let's keep ourselves in it. And like I say, we can then park the Premier League for a couple of weeks until we play Liverpool. We've got Barcelona on Thursday, Carabao Cup next Sunday, West Ham in the Cup after that, and then Liverpool. So get the 3 points against Leicester and park the Premier League for a couple of weeks. It's there to be done. We don't have a lot of rotational options, certainly not in the front three. And hopefully, if we can beat Leicester, I would expect Anthony Martial, hopefully, and certainly Anthony and McTominay to be back. Casemiro is going to be back from suspension after this game as well. Sabitzer and Martinez obviously didn't play against Barcelona, but they're available for this anyway. If we can just get through Leicester with 3 points, and like I say, park the Premier League for a little bit, by the time we do play Liverpool, hopefully we're going to Liverpool with, many more options in the midfield and in the attack, where at the moment we are a little bit light. But this is what happens when the standards get set, isn't it? You might look at this game and go, "Oh, it's really difficult. Leicester are playing really, really well. We're tired," but it's the faith and the standards and the obsession that Ten Hag has instilled in the club that is now reflected in the fans. That I am not anticipating a shock from Leicester tomorrow. It could happen because the Premier League is very competitive, but I actually think there isn't a threat from Leicester. I think we will find our way through this game and we will win, and I think 2-0. So that's where I stand on it. And thankfully, we've got the preview done. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you do smash a like on the video. Don't forget that we are sponsored by Manscaped, so the link's in the video description, or you can scan the QR code next to me. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Don't forget it's a watch along tomorrow. And obviously if anything happens with the bid or anything like that, we'll let you know. And if you're watching on the Saturday, don't forget I'm live on YouTube at 7:30 till 9 o'clock on TalkSport National Radio with the Mark Goldbridge Show, where I'm sure we'll be taking a lot of calls about the ownership of Manchester United. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.